On the world news, 40 people killed and many injured in Israeli airstrike. And former Ugandan Olympic athlete ex-boyfriend is dead. This is the world news. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the world news on Providence Television International. My name is Edna Caesar Garek. Palestinian officials have reported that at least 40 people have been killed and 60 injured in an Israeli airstrike on a designated safe zone in the southern Gaza. At least 20 tents in an encampment in the Al-Mawal Sea area of Khan Yunis, where Palestinians were sheltering, was hit in the early morning attack on Tuesday. Gaza Civil Defense said Israeli attack have many times hit areas to which its military had previously directed civilians seeking safety. A statement issued by the Israeli military said the attack, which witnesses seemed have involved at least 4 missile strikes, had targeted at Hamas command center. The Palestinian armed group branded that a blatant lie. Al-Mawasi had been crowded with Palestinians sleeping in tents since the Israeli army designated the coastal area a safe zone during its ground invasion of Khan Yunis and nearby Rafah. Rescuers searching for survivors said they found carcass of up to 9 camps. Witnesses described chaotic scene in the area with fires burning while Israeli reconnaissance planes circled overhead. The spokesperson said ambulance and civil defense team were having difficulty retrieving the bodies of people killed in the attack. Israeli authorities said the attack struck significant Hamas terrorists who had been operating a command for control center embedded inside the humanitarian zone in Khan Yunis. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said in a statement that prior to the strike, numerous steps were taken to mitigate the risk of harming civilians, including the use of precise munitions, aerial surveillance, and additional means. Hamas, the Palestinian group that governs Gaza, denied that its fighters were in the targeted area and accused Israeli authorities of perpetrating lies to justify their ugly crimes. Russian officials said a woman has been killed near Moscow after the remnants of a downed Ukraine drone hit the apartment block where she was living and started a fire. Russia's Ministry of Defense said its air defense shot down 144 Ukrainian drones overnight, with 20 alone over the Moscow region. Moscow Regional Governor Andrei Volobo said debris from the drone damaged at least 2 high-rise apartment building in Remeskoye district in the early hours of Tuesday, setting several flats on fire. A 46-year-old woman was killed and 3 people were injured in Remeskoye after the attack caused a fire on the 11th and 12th floors of the building, Vyuko said. He said 43 people were evacuated to temporary accommodation center. City Major Sergei Sobroyan said emergency teams had been sent to a number of locations across the region, as well as to the area near the Zokovo airport and around the Demodidovo district, the site of one Moscow's largest airport. In more than 30 flights were suspended. Another 14 drones were intercepted over Cox, 13 over Tula, and 25 more over 5 other parts of the country, the military said. More than 2.5 years since Moscow launched its full-scale invasion, Ukraine has fast-tracked the development of a domestic drone industry to enable it to attack Russia's energy, military, and transport infrastructure. Ukraine did not comment on the attack, which came as air raid warning sounded in Kiev amid another Russian drone assault on the Ukrainian capital. Russia's short and Bada Telegram channels, which are close to the security services, posted videos with flames billowing from the multi-story residential building, saying 5 flats has been destroyed in the region of Bran, close to the border with Ukraine. The Russian Defense Ministry said 72 drones were intercepted. The former boyfriend of Ugandan Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei, who died after He set her on fire, has himself died from burns sustained in the attack. Diske Ndiema ambushed the marathon runner as she returned home from church more than a week ago before dousing her with petrol and setting her ablaze. Reports say the two has been in conflict over a small piece of land in the northwest Kenya where Kiptegai lived and trained. Ndiema died on Monday night at the intensive care unit where he had been admitted with more than 30% burns. Neighbors said they had screamed before Kiptegai came running towards them shouting for help. Ndiema was to face charges as police said they were treating Kiptegai's death to murder with the former boyfriend named as the main suspect. Both of them were admitted to Moi Hospital in Eldoret before their death. The 33-year-old athlete was the third athlete to be killed in Kenya in the last 3 years, where intimate partners were named as the main suspect by police. The Olympian was born on the Kenyan side of the Kenya-Uganda border, but chose to cross over and represent Uganda to chase her athletic dream when she did not get a breakthrough in Kenya. When she started getting into running, she joined the Uganda People's Defense Forces in 2008 and to set sergeant, and she get to sergeant rank. Her career included competing in this year's Paris Olympic. Although she came 44th in the marathon, people in her home called her champion. Kiptegai is said to be buried on Saturday at her ancestral home in Boko, Uganda. Attacks on women have become a major concern in Kenya. In 2022, at least 34% of women said they experienced physical violence, according to national survey. If you are just joining us, this is a world news on Providence Television International. Germany is set to expand borders check following a knife attack which left 3 people dead in the town of Solingen in August. The government has come under pressure to take a harder line on migration since the stabbing, in which the suspect is a Syrian national who was facing deportation after a failed asylum bid. The attack has been claimed by the Islamic State group. The new controls will be introduced on 16 September and initially last 6 months, were announced days after the anti-migration alternative for Germany made big gains in local election. Germany Interior Minister Nancy Faeser insisted the government was taking a hard line against irregular migration and said the checks would reduce Islamist extremism and cross-border crime. Germany already has control as its eastern and southern borders with Poland, the Czech Republic, Switzerland and Austria, primarily spot checks on road and in trains. Similar measures will be introduced to all border points. However, critics said the move is more about politics than security. Germany took in more than 1 million people, mostly fleeing war in countries such as Syria during the 2015-2016 migrant crisis, and has received 1.2 million Ukrainians since Russia's full-scale invasion began in February 2022. Since the Solingen stabbing, Chancellor Olaf Scholz's government has announced a raft of measures on migration. They include changing the rules so asylum seekers facing deportation of convicted Afghan criminals to their home country for the first time since the Taliban returned to power in 2021. Away from the foreign scene now, back home, the federal government has predicted 5-day rainfall that may lead to flooding in 21 states and 123 locations. It also listed 7 states that will likely be severely affected. The states include Benue, Kogi, Anambra, Delta, Imo, Rivers and Bayelsa states. The flood prediction was obtained from the Office of National Flood Early Warning System Center for the Federal Ministry of Environment, as the ministry also warned communities downstream of River Benue to take caution. Meanwhile, the federal government also disclosed that the identified locations and environs would likely witness rainfall that may lead to flood from September 4 to 8, 2024. In an interventionist move calculated to stop impending national economic shutdown, the managing director of Nigerian Ports Authority, Dr. Abubakar Dan Soho on Monday night, September 2024, save off the planned strike action by the Consortium of Trucking Union and Association under the auspices of the Association of Maritime Truck Owners. Appealing to the maritime workers during the meeting, Dan Soho, who was represented by the Executive Director, Marine and Operations, Engineer Lalikan Badmus, promised to work with the Lagos State Government and the Police High Command to urgently address their concern and prevent any downturn by a critical aspect of the port logistics value chain that the maritime trucking community constitutes. The Enugu State Government has issued a stern warning to bushers and poultry farmers to desist from the unwholesome practice of the sale of already dead animals and chickens. The warning contained in a press statement jointly signed by the Commissioner for Health, Professor Ikechukwu Obi, and the Commissioner for Agriculture and Agro-Industrialization, Mr. Patrick Ubro, on Monday in Enugu, threatened to sanction any farmer or meat seller caught engaging in unhealthy practice. According to the statement, the ministry has raised the concern following a whistleblowing tip-off by some members of the public that animals which died of flu and other zoonotic diseases had found their way into the meat markets. Reports have it that the operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Benin Zonal Directorate, have arrested no fewer than 46 suspected internet fraudsters in Warri local government area of Delta State. The arrest, Providence Television International gathered, was made on Sunday, September 8, 2024, at different locations within the Warri metropolis following credible intelligence on their alleged involvement in internet-related fraud. Items recovered from them during the arrest include 13 exotic cars, laptops and phone. The suspect will be charged in court as soon as investigations are concluded. The spokesman of the Coalition on Riverine Communities, Honorable Daniel Ezekiel, has expressed a profound gratitude to the Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, 4th Brigade of Benin, Edo State, and others for their quick intervention to dislodge hoodlums from the Nikoroga community in the Ovia West local government area of the state. According to a press briefing by Honorable Daniel Ezekiel, the Nikoroga community for the past 15 years had been under terror of a fleeing ex-agitator, Robert Okubo, adding that he turned the community into a criminal den where all sorts of crimes were going on, e.g. kidnapping, killing, arson, raping, and oppression of the farmers in the community. Meanwhile, Ezekiel said on the 23rd of March 2023, the tempo of agitation of the Coalition of Riverine Communities and some other progressive minds against the desertly activities of Robert Okumbo was increased. With that, we've come to the end of the world news. But before we go, a recap. We brought the story which says the former boyfriend of Uganda Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei, who died after he set her on fire, has himself died from burns sustained in the attack. Dixon Ndiema ambushed marathon runner as she returned home from church more than a week ago before dousing her with petrol and setting her ablaze. A woman has been killed near Moscow after the remnants of a downed Ukrainian drone hit the apartment block where she was living and started a fire. Russia's Ministry of Defense said its air defenses shot down 144 Ukrainian drones overnight, with 20 alone over the Moscow region. And finally, Palestinian officials have reported that at least 40 people have been killed and 60 injured in an Israeli airstrike on a designated safe zone in southern Gaza. At least 20 tents in an encampment in the Al-Mawasa area of Khan Yunis, where Palestinians were sheltering, were hit in the early morning attack on Tuesday. That's our package. Thanks for watching. Edna Cesar Garrick is my name. Good afternoon.